Russia had a huge army, but they were not well equipped. This was mainly because all of their resources in their country were so spread out, and their industrial base was underdeveloped compared to other major powers. Many of the soldiers, especially early in the war, were sent to the front without a rifle and were told to pick one up from a fallen comrade if needed. This was not common throughout the entire war, but did occur during the war's shortages. The weapons that they used were often old or not produced in sufficient numbers to meet demands. The standard issue troop rifle, the Mosin Nagant rifle, was a bolt-action rifle known for its reliability and accuracy. However, Russia didn't have enough of these early in the war, and although it was a solid rifle, it wasn't as advanced as some newer models used by German forces, such as the Gewehr 98. Another gun that the Russian army had was the Maxim machine gun, developed by Hiram Maxim in 1884. This was one of the first fully automatic machine guns, and it was used by many armies in World War I. Russia used a variant called the PM-M1910, which was mounted on a wheeled cart with a protective shield and was water-cooled, making it effective for sustained fire in defensive positions. Artillery also had a big effect on the war. Howitzers and cannons were used for long-range engagement, both offensive and defensive. Mortars also found their use, as they were very effective in trench warfare. They were used for close-range bombardment and could arc shells directly into enemy trenches, bypassing barriers and defenses. Chemical warfare was introduced as a way to combat trench warfare. This was a devastating weapon for soldiers to experience the effects of, as though sleeping would suffocate from inhaling the gas. Gases like chlorine and phosgene attacked the respiratory system, causing chemical burns in the lungs and leading to pulmonary edema, where fluid filled the lungs, and often resulted in death by suffocation.
Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die.
Since the gas is denser than air, it would also settle into trenches, making them especially dangerous. World War I was the first war to include aircraft in dogfights. At first, planes were just used for reconnaissance, however, their use soon expanded. They started to carry bombs to bomb enemy trenches. As planes started filling the battlefield sky, so did the need for firepower in the sky to oppose these planes. As such, many armies also installed machine guns on their planes. Some of the planes that Russia used were the Sikorsky Ilya Muromets heavy bomber, one of the first of its kind, the Anicha reconnaissance plane, and the Sikorsky S-16 fighter, which is among the earliest Russian-designed fighter aircraft. Russia used trench warfare, a common practice of many other nations during World War I. This made warfare very long and caused many casualties, though not all by gunshot. In fact, most of these deaths were due to illness and injuries from being in a trench for so long, including exposure to the cold, trench foot or damage to the foot caused by standing in cold wet mud, and infections from unsanitary conditions. Soldiers were often stuck in a stalemate, with opposing sides dug in and separated by a strip of land, often called no man's land, which made direct assaults deadly and ineffective and prompted the rise of aerial warfare, which was not limited to the constraints of the ground. Russia's role in World War I was mainly a tragedy. Their army, although massive, struggled with supply issues, outdated technology, and disorganization. Despite these challenges, army leaders like General Alexei Brusilov led some of the most effective offensives of the war, most notably the Brusilov Offensive, which dealt a serious blow to Austro-Hungarian forces. However, even with moments of success, the Russian military suffered heavy losses. Nikolai Ruski held high command in the early years of the war and played a role in the Russian advance into Galicia, but his leadership was also criticized and he was later removed from command. Paul von Brennenkampf's defeat at the Battle of Tannenberg was one of the early major disasters for the Russian army. It exposed serious flaws in communication and coordination among Russian commanders. All these highlight how complex and challenging the war was for Russia. As the war dragged on, morale dropped, and tensions at home grew worse. Russia's involvement in World War I shaped its military and its society. The use of trench warfare, chemical weapons, and aerial combat redefined modern warfare. What began as a war between empires turned into a global conflict that changed how war was fought, and Russia's struggles on the battlefield played a key role in that transformation.